Hello everybody, Medi here. Taking a small detour from Generation 2 ROM hacks for a quick look back at some Generation 1 hacks. And just like my Pokemon Silver Improvement hacks video, I'll be going over a couple of hacks that keep the base game mostly the same, but add in their own improvements and features and providing a more unique experience to these games. This time, however, instead of looking at a couple of hacks for one version of the game, I decided to look at a hack for each of the 3 versions of Generation 1 that were released outside of Japan: Red, Blue, and Yellow. Sorry Green fans, I'll find a hack for you next time. Real quick before I start though, I actually wanted to give a shout out to the hacks that properly translate the games themselves. Either as a one-to-one translation to English or any other language, I don't really see or hear many people talk about these hacks. So I thought about giving them a mention because translations aren't easy work, and I believe they deserve some recognition for making the games a lot more accessible out there. So, thank you to those who take their time to create these hacks. Now, onto the hacks for the actual video. Now, I know what you might be thinking. However, despite what you see here on screen, this is a Generation 1 ROM hack. More specifically, Pokemon Pink version, a hack of Pokemon Blue created by ADC that mainly focuses on adding its own unique features to the original game while also fixing some of the issues the original had. Also, thanks to Dren, the entire game has been updated with the sprites of Gold and Silver so that Kanto can really pop. The biggest addition that Pokemon Pink version brings to the table is the implementation of the 3 types that would later exist in the Pokemon franchise: Steel, Dark, and Fairy, granting the Pokemon that would later adopt these types in the future to possess them here, as well as changing some of the typings of a couple Pokemon to have these new types be more widespread and unique. Some examples include the Arbok and Raticate family now also being Dark type along with their original typing. Along with the addition of these new types, the type matchups have now been updated to the modern era, so don't expect some Gen 1 tactics to work here. Plenty of ROM hacks tend to add these 3 types to make Gen 1 feel a bit more modern, along with adding some new moves for them. However, Pokemon Pink version only adds in the new types and no new moves with them, which I find a bit odd. While I can understand that adding new moves is probably difficult from a coding angle, it still feels weird to have these types exist and feature no offensive properties to them. Sure, you can counter a Psychic type by sending out a Dark type so you can't get hit, but you can't really expose their weaknesses because no Dark type moves exist here, especially since Psychic types in Generation 1 were notorious for being a major problem. The hack does show off a little bit of its own identity by not only allowing you to play as a female trainer from Pokemon Crystal, but also changing up the starters with 3 different Pokemon. The starters for Pokemon Pink version are Jigglypuff, Vulpix, and Pikachu, which is a pretty interesting lineup that strays away from the classic Grass, Water, and Fire lineup, and it lets you start off with a Fairy type if you choose. The only issue with these 3 is that it's a bit rough at the beginning for each of them, since none of them have an answer to Rock types really, and that all of them require a Stone to evolve. At least you can still catch other Pokemon before that gym to help though. Just like Pokemon Pink version, this next hack keeps the base gameplay completely untouched and adds in its own unique features and changes to the game. However, while this hack doesn't add the new types in or changes up the starters, it does make the game a bit more challenging. A more battle-focused ROM hack called Pokemon Red Proud Eyes version by Break that tests the player's ability to strategize more along their adventure. The hack also does happen to update the graphics to match Gen 2 as well, utilizing Gold and Silver sprites, and I promise I didn't plan this, but it just happened to happen. Pokemon Red Proud Eyes makes the original game's journey of becoming the strongest trainer a bit harder by making all the major battles a bit more challenging. For starters, both the gym leaders and the members of the Elite Four now possess new and stronger teams that can be quite a challenge, taking anyone expecting their original lineup by surprise, which I find very refreshing. The rival has also been given a pretty unique gimmick with their team constantly changing with each encounter, except for their starter of course, keeping players guessing on what he'll have next with each fight. I really enjoyed this change because it helps stray away from how most people may play these games. Sure, the originals are always lovely walks back to the beginnings of Pokemon, and I do enjoy playing them, but I typically find myself autopiloting with each major fight, using the same strategy to exploit their weaknesses. So changing up their teams made me actually focus on how to approach every major battle and become more engaged with them. To allow players to properly prepare for these battles, Proud Eyes offers several extra resources and opportunities during their journey, offering up a wider variety of Pokemon to choose from in their party, as well as making some that would normally appear later in the adventure show up a lot sooner. One of my favorite examples to this change is that some water-type Pokemon can appear in the tall grass of the starting routes. And while it may seem like a weird and questionable decision, I think it's a really neat one, allowing players to have access to a water type in the early game if they didn't pick Squirtle as their starter. As for resources, the hack allows every TM in the game to be freely purchased from the several Pokemarts across Kanto. Unfortunately, this is at the cost of removing certain items from the shop's inventory, like repels and other miscellaneous items, but typically you can easily find them in the Celadon department store. The hack also has gym leaders give the player 3 of their specific TM, since some of them are pretty great moves that a great amount of Pokemon can learn. Although I can't say I'm too enthused about getting multiple copies of Bind from Brock. Pokemon Yellow version Special Pikachu Edition was always a really neat game to me. Having your Pikachu walk around with you rather than being stuck in a Pokeball really made it feel like you were bonding with them just like in the anime. However, now that time has gone by and not everyone is a big fan of the yellow mascot, it would be nice to have another Pokemon take its place. Maybe one a bit more unique than Pikachu. I mean, we have over 1,000 Pokemon that exist now, so what Pokemon could truly take its role? Yes, Cramorant. Pokemon Cramorant version by Cramodev is a hack of Pokemon Yellow that of course replaces Pikachu with everybody's favorite clumsy bird Cramorant, and adds in a bunch of extra content and changes to the main game, as well as creating some extra sprites, moves, and sounds for our pal Cramorant here. It also includes a complete new and custom intro that looks really good. Just like Proud Eyes, Cramorant Edition also increases the difficulty of the game by upping the levels of both the regular trainers and the more major fights throughout the journey. The difficulty in this version did require me to grind out a couple of levels, but nothing too time consuming. However, I don't know if it was because of my level grinding that some of the gym trainers felt like a joke compared to their leader, or if the hack has some weird level scaling. Oh well, it was nothing I couldn't handle, and it's always nice to have a challenge. The hack itself also adds in a bunch of quality of life additions to enhance the experience of the game. The existence of a run button, creation of an evolutionary item for trade evos, and more inventory space are some of the more basic inclusions that most hacks do have featured here. However, there are some more major improvements that not many hacks include that are present, like updating how sleep works in the game by allowing Pokemon to attack once they wake up, thank the stars, and changing binding moves to a multi-hit move like Double Slap or Spike Cannon, making them a lot more bearable to deal with. The hack also utilizes some features from other hacks, mostly pure RGB, to improve the game even more. It's really awesome how many things this hack adds in order to improve the original game while still having it feel like the same old experience. Sure, our pal Cramorant here is a big indicator that we're not playing the original Yellow, but overall, the hack feels like a polished version of the original. It truly is a testament on how fans of this game are dedicated to make it the best it can be while also still keeping it feel like the same experience, even with our new partner over here. Lastly, the hack adds in several extra areas and features for the player to enjoy while on their journey. There's a new mini dungeon between Celadon and Saffron where you can challenge some brothers who are very adamant of fishing and getting a prize after beating all of them. A fan club for Cramorant and Vermilion exists where you can obtain a TM for his signature move, and the Surfing Pikachu minigame has completely changed to now feature the new star of the game. There's also plenty of new secrets that can be discovered throughout the region, offering a bit of extra goodies to look for while on your adventure. Throughout my 3 journeys through Kanto once more, I found each of these hacks a very interesting ways to revisit the region. The first 2 being smaller sized hacks that were made to add additional flair to their games, all while keeping the spirit of the originals intact, while the third showed me how much can be added to the game and still feel like a classic adventure. Although for the first 2, since they were both made in 2013, there are plenty of newer ROM hacks out here now that outshine them today. But I believe these hacks paved the way to have more and more be created and expanded upon what they did. As for Cramorant Edition, I was really impressed at the amount of features it included and all the improvements it added to the base game. Out of all the hacks, it was my absolute favorite, and I will probably go back to it into the future. And yes, Cramorant was endearing the entire time. Thank you for watching. Meta out.